To read and get movies and stuff like that, and do the fun activities they do.
I just think the library is the most wonderful thing in a community where people can always go and learn.
It's our history, there are stories, it's where you can go at the age of 8, at the age of 80, in between, to learn about worlds and ideas that you never knew before.
The library is virtually like a oasis in the desert.
I can say that I've always loved libraries since I was a kid. It was one of those places that I would go to for hours. And as I've grown up, I've learned, I guess, even more the importance of libraries. I became a teacher, and my students use the library not just for finding books to read for pleasure, but also to do research.
Kind of a sanctuary sometimes, to be able to go in the library and find anything that you thought of. It was in the library.
Philadelphians, we love our libraries.
In November 2008, Mayor Nutter announced the closing of 11 libraries. If Philadelphians love their library so much, then why did Mayor Nutter want to close these 11 libraries?
The mayor was going to close 11 libraries because of a shortfall in the budget.
When it comes time to deal with budgets, libraries are often one of the things that get cut because they're not federally mandated or because they're not quite as supposedly as critical as police and fire.
Oh, they have enough money. They have $700 million for the convention center. Okay? They said $68 million for that painting at Jefferson when they wanted to raise, but they can't find $8 million for the libraries.
There was immediate spontaneous uprising all over the city. Wherever there was a closed library, communities came together and had rallies.
We had rallies and things of that nature that, showed the support of the community and at large, and it started to grow all around the city. People getting interested in, saying to contact the councilmen and, contact the mayor. And little did I know, I thought he was joking, but I really set out to do that. And we got about 2,000 signatures.
Coalition Save the Libraries began as an effort to link the 11 that were faced with closure and to draw strength from one another and from the community, the city at large, because most of the city was furious. They had all kinds of direct action, protests at City Hall, creative actions. At one point, we had a rolling wheel showing the rolling closures that were taking place.
Having meetings down Walnut Street, I think it was, at the church, Unitarian Church, and we were having those meetings very regularly. In person, with a little bit of people did it. A lot of people came, and a lot of people from the different libraries started to come together, and we started talking about different ideas of how we could help and how we could do some things to save the libraries.
Everybody came from all walks of life, all race, all creed, all color. That was a beautiful thing.
Just by being a teacher and having students who love to read and who need to learn how to research, that's how I personally got involved, especially when Mayor Nutter decided that he was going to close our library, the only library that our school has. We started out with a rally right outside of our branch to let people know in the community that this was going to be happening, to let the city know that it was not okay to decide to just close one of the libraries permanently in response to a temporary budget issue. So we started out with a rally there, and we had community members, we had people who used the library, we had politicians there, all saying, like, you cannot close our library. Rally at the Central Branch, where all people from across the 11 that were going to be closed and some of the other libraries came together and in one huge unified voice said, you cannot close these libraries, it's unacceptable, especially in a time when more and more people are needing to use the libraries. We need them more than ever. And so we decided that we were going to have our own lawsuit, if you will, brought by the people against Mayor Nutter. And so we came up with 11 counts that that we were filing against him. And outside of City Hall, we charged him with crimes against the citizens of Philadelphia, including making books an endangered species, endangering the minds of children, taking away safe spaces in the community, encouraging blight, and so on and so forth. And I thought that was a pretty amazing moment. I think the message was really that you cannot do this to the people of Philadelphia. We are your boss, Mayor Nutter, not the other way around. And you cannot act unilaterally to decide that you're going to just take away services from the citizens who elected you in the first place.
Friends of the Free Library is an independent, nonprofit, charitable organization whose mission is to support the Free Library of Philadelphia. And the way we support the library is through volunteers who work at their local library to raise awareness of their local library branch, raise money for books, programs, and other materials at their local library branch.
And when necessary, we advocate to the library administration and our elected officials for things like chairs, computers, books, because we believe that library services are absolutely essential to the city of Philadelphia and to everybody.
The mayor had 6 public forums about the budget cuts, and at every single one of them, the majority of the conversation, the questioning, was about libraries, because people everywhere were so confused and concerned, not confused, concerned about library branches and closure of libraries, because in many places it is the only good thing happening in the community forward. And I will never forget at the one at the King Sessing Rec Center, there was a 68-year-old, and because she told us she was 68-year-old, African-American woman who stood there and pointed her finger at the mayor and said, "Don't you dare close our library, young man." And everyone erupted, and it was fantastic.
When I hear that the city budget can somehow no longer accommodate libraries, I got really alarmed, because I know that other children today look at libraries as their sanctuary, as their place where they can find anything, their place where they can explore and they can go read about places that they haven't gotten around to getting to yet. But the community did many kinds of things. We organized call-ins so that you can call your city council person and let them know what you thought about libraries. We organized rallies at various libraries. We actually went and celebrated with the libraries their special historical days. One library I know we did a Valentine's Day event at the library. Originally, City Council was supposed to hold hearings on the library budget, and they chose not to hold the hearings. So what we decided to do instead is to hold our own hearings on the libraries. And we decided to do it in City Hall, in front of the hearing, what would be a normal hearing room. So we took this message and we asked people to testify to why libraries are important to them. And we heard all kinds of stories of why libraries are important to them. That was called the People's Hearings. And the people spoke.
Many people are talking about, isn't there some legal way to stop this? It's got to be an injunction. Even in my branch here, we had a meeting, and at one of the first meetings, someone said, we've got to file an injunction to stop the library from closing. And I said, yes, some of us are talking about doing just that. So I was co-counsel with Irv Ackelsberg. We represented the plaintiffs, people in the 11 branches where the libraries were closing.
As for those who were fighting the closings of the libraries, this was a day to celebrate. Smiles and hugs outside court, an 11th hour temporary victory, but a victory nonetheless for those fighting City Hall, fighting the Nutter administration's plan to close 11 branch libraries tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, New Year's Eve. Those leading the legal challenge believe a special court order issued today means buildings will remain open and library staff at work at those branches for now.
The judge stopped the closures the day before the libraries were to close. And we had a great victory party the following night.
One of the other questions I think that's important for communities to know is that by coming together, the effects have been tremendous. We brought together people from every part of the city of Philadelphia, from South Philly to the Northwest to Northeast, to the river areas in Kensington to North Philadelphia. It got people thinking about the other important services, not just libraries. This summer we had a crisis about the swimming pools in the city, and the city wanted to close the swimming pools. Once again, the children are the target of that. Communities rallied around their pools and around their children and said to the public officials, we don't want the swimming pools closed.
We came together as a group of people showing our strength and let them know that we have the power, that we can, some things we can stop and we don't have to have the money to stop it. Together, plus it made me a stronger person, a strong individual, because I know struggling will not last forever. You have to go through struggles to get what you need to get.
I guess the most important lesson, and the lesson that is still being learned, I think, and our city still has to learn, is that the people have enormous amounts of power. When you think back to the civil rights movement, right, it was people power that made so much happen, and the same is true today. And it's amazing to see how the Coalition to Save the Libraries kind of had an offshoot in creating the Coalition for Essential Services, and then groups across the city that may have even in fact disagreed with each other on other issues were able to come together and stand together. And instead of it representing 30, 50, 100 people, now it was representing thousands of people in the city, from the unions to agencies, just innumerable groups of people came together and said, this is not the city that we want, and send a message not only to Mayor Nutter, but to anyone across the country who is trying to take away essential services, such as the library, from the actual core citizens of that community. You're going to have to do it with a fight. You're going to really have to fight against us, because we're there and we're going to fight back.